Hi, I'm Dr. Larry Malerba, and welcome back to the All Things Homeopathy channel. Thanks for joining me. By the way, a number of months ago, I was pleasantly surprised when I received an email from the Kennedy 24 campaign. This was back when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was running as an independent candidate for the U.S. presidency. A member of his staff was reaching out to me as a healthcare professional to, quote, find out what your top concerns are and to see if you have any questions about the campaign or would like to provide feedback. I double checked, and this was not just a form letter. It seemed like a genuinely personal inquiry. So naturally, I jumped at the opportunity. Full disclosure, I was a strong supporter of his independent candidacy at the time and had made multiple contributions to the campaign. I sat down and composed what I thought was an honest summary of my views regarding our healthcare system and my beliefs about how it needed to change. Up until that point, I was hopeful about the prospect of RFK Jr. becoming our next president. And so I was extremely disappointed when he abruptly dropped his bid and joined forces with the Republican Party. I withdrew my support and let the campaign know about my displeasure. The truth, however, is that prior to this, the Democrats had intentionally blocked RFK Jr.'s attempt to compete in the Democratic primary. They then subsequently placed insurmountable financial and legal roadblocks in the way of his independent bid for the presidency. As far as I'm concerned, both of these efforts were anti-democratic. Furthermore, I believe that both parties are beholden to their corporate masters who dump enormous amounts of money into campaigns for candidates from both sides of the aisle, disingenuous campaigns that promise to work for the benefit of the people. I swore, therefore, that I would not vote for either party, and for the first time in my life, I did not. But now that the election is over and Mr. Kennedy has been installed as the new U.S. Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, I thought I would share with you my previous communication with his independent campaign. So here, with one small redaction, is the letter that I wrote to Mr. Kennedy and his campaign back in June of 2024. Dear Mr. Kennedy, thank you for reaching out to me. My wife and I have been strong supporters and have made multiple contributions to your campaign. I was a lifelong Democrat until I left the party a couple years ago after their inexplicable actions during the COVID epidemic. I have been a licensed physician in New York State for 35 years, and my wife is an RN. Together, we've practiced a holistic form of medicine called homeopathy in the Albany, New York area for that same duration. I'm former president of the Homeopathic Medical Society of the state of New York, and I served a term on the New York State Board for Professional Medical Conduct. My one political claim to fame is that in 1994, I testified before members of the state legislature to help change the wording of the law that defines the practice of medicine in New York State. In essence, it prevented licensed physicians from being punished simply for practicing an unconventional form of medicine. Although that provided a modicum of protection, the possibility of being unjustly persecuted by the state medical board always remains in the backs of our minds. I've spent a lifetime defending the rights of physicians to practice homeopathic medicine and the rights of patients to choose it as a healthcare option. According to the World Health Organization, next to conventional pharmaceutical medicine, homeopathy is the second most popular and widely practiced form of medicine around the globe. The entire history of medicine in the United States finds its roots in the split in the early 1900s between the homeopathic physicians and the eclectic physicians on the one hand, and the scientific school of medicine promoted by Rockefeller and the pharmaceutical barons on the other hand. Royal Copeland, MD, was a homeopathic physician, dean of New York Medical College and Flower Hospital, president of the New York City Board of Health, and a U.S. Senator from New York from 1923 to 1938. He was the primary author of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, which included protections for the manufacture, sale, and use of homeopathic medicines. It's no secret to the homeopathic community, including practitioners and patients alike, that since its inception, pharma has long sought to undermine and discredit homeopathy. It has successfully done so with the help of FDA. Nowadays, any physician who practices homeopathic medicine in the U.S. does so against great odds and in isolation from his or her medical colleagues. I believe that one of the antidotes to pharma's unscrupulous control of the healthcare industry is a fair playing field that allows the general public to learn about alternative options and to choose healthcare practitioners who employ those options without fear of being ostracized or punished. Unconventional and non-pharmaceutical forms of medicine and healthcare must be protected from both clandestine and overt campaigns by pharma, FDA, the AMA, etc., designed to dissuade the public from using those methods and designed to destroy the reputations of practitioners who use them. This has been accomplished, for example, through onerous FDA regulations that make it difficult and expensive for homeopathic pharmaceutical manufacturers to bring their products to market. Although FDA oversees regulation of the homeopathic pharmacopoeia of the United States, not one single homeopathic expert, homeopathic pharmacist, or homeopathic physician is employed by FDA. Although I am a physician who legally practices homeopathic medicine, most medical schools are completely ignorant regarding the topic and have no faculty that teach its practice. At best, a few schools offer a brief survey lecture that describes homeopathy and a smattering of other alternative practices. Otherwise, homeopathy and holistic medicine in general are taboo topics in most medical schools. I have a YouTube channel called All Things Homeopathy dedicated to educating the public about homeopathy. To my great surprise, as far as I know, I have not yet been censored. At the same time, I have self-censored my medical opinions regarding certain issues, including my critiques of conventional medicine and vaccines. From the beginning of the pandemic, we have had a good bit of success treating both acute COVID cases and, as we in the homeopathic community call them, never well since COVID cases. Over the years, we've also had success in treating vaccine-injured kids and adults with homeopathy. However, we've not spoken publicly about any of these topics. In fact, we remain neutral on the topic of vaccines with our own patients, advocating neither for or against them. We believe firmly in the right to choose. So although we have not yet been censored, the prevailing atmosphere causes us to censor ourselves. Furthermore, we in the homeopathic community believe that an extensive misinformation campaign has been waged against homeopathy for many years. This becomes particularly evident when we track the statements and behaviors of various skeptic organizations around the globe. These organizations claim to speak for science, but act as agents of sabotage, commonly issuing defamatory statements regarding its favorite target, which is homeopathy and its practitioners, in addition to other forms of holistic care. Skeptics control the content of certain Wikipedia pages. and skeptic organizations have been instrumental in having long-standing funding for homeopathic treatment in the UK stricken from the NHS. They accomplished this with a continuous barrage of defamatory misinformation, which is even directed at politicians who support homeopathy. They've even gone after King Charles for his support of homeopathy. We're certain that many of these skeptics groups are secretly funded by pharma. In summary, we agree with you that the root of all medical evil is corporate capture of medical schools, hospitals, research institutions, regulatory agencies, the media, and government itself. Our number one concern by far is freedom of medical choice in America for both patients and practitioners alike. Corporate capture, disinformation, and censorship are issues that need to be urgently addressed. I thank you for having the courage to take on so many difficult issues. I'm ready to assist the campaign in any way that I can. If needed, I would be very willing to act as a liaison to the homeopathic community. Best wishes to you and the campaign. Larry Malerba. Now again, to my surprise, I promptly received a follow-up note from the person who had initially reached out to me. I will now share with you just a small portion of that response here. Quote, I can't thank you enough for your wonderful email you sent me. I will be sharing your feedback with the campaign and appreciate your generous offer of being a liaison to the homeopathic community. I'm sure you're aware that Mr. Kennedy has been vocal about using homeopathy himself and that he stands behind alternative treatments along with medical freedoms for both providers and patients. Unquote. Who knows where all this is going to lead us or whether any kind of meaningful change will occur, given the enormous power of the labyrinthine bureaucracy that maintains the status quo in favor of the rich and powerful. But I just thought I'd put this out there, if only to inspire you to think about the possibilities and how anyone can choose to work toward positive change. After all, if the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services is a patron and supporter of homeopathy, then just maybe we have a fighting chance to elevate homeopathy once again to the status that it deserves as a therapy that is truly safe, inexpensive, and genuinely effective. Okay, I just thought it might be worth letting you know about my communication with the guy who's now the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. Here's to hoping that he is an agent for changes that will truly benefit the United States and the collective health of its citizens. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in again to the next All Things Homeopathy episode. And in the meanwhile, may the vital force be with us all.